Baruch Hashem, the mikveh was open even if it was cold. I didn't have to schlep 10 minutes each way out of my way. And Erev Shabbos, I would have mamish been at the skin of my teeth. Erev Shabbos, now I have a good half hour till Mincha. So Baruch Hashem, I'm thankful for that. And the mikveh wasn't that cold, and the shower was kind of cool, but at least there's soap. It wasn't, I don't know, maybe I should take a hot shower when I get home, but I took a hot shower this morning. It's good enough. That's the Kuvit Shabbos, right? So anyway, let's talk about Parshas Bereishis. Let's go back to the beginning. Genesis, the Sega Genesis, no? Right? The very beginning of the Bible. We started already on Sunday, and just a little bit because we can't finish something without starting it anew. So Baruch Hashem, we started Parshas Bereishis, and I guess the subject I was always most interested in Parshas Bereishis was the question of creation and evolution, and I used to be a very, very stark creationist, and now I'm ambivalent more or less on the subject. I would like to discuss the implications of the question. Obviously, it goes without saying that every Jew must believe that God is the creator of heaven and earth. The questions come up is, how literally do we have to take Genesis? Was it literally 6 days? Or was it something else? Were they 6 consecutive days? Another question. And what process did God use to create all the different species? Was each species individually created, or did one species arise from another species? Even for that to happen takes some. And what is and is the definition that we have of a species exactly what we mean by a species, by a kind, by a min? Liminehu, according to their kinds, is a biblical min, a biblical kind, a species. I know in modern Hebrew, the word min, it means sex, in addition to meaning a kind. So, you would assume that it would be, in general, the definition that I've always been taught in biology of a species means something that can reproduce and produce fertile offspring is a species. They're of the same species, and could be of the same genus and a different species, and they would produce infertile offspring, and whereas if they're of a subspecies, they would produce fertile offspring, but they're not so likely to reproduce. And then if they're of different genera, then they're not going to even be able to reproduce under most circumstances. Although, of course, that's under binomial nomenclature, but it's not always exactly true. There are species of different genera that can produce infertile offspring, because the classification system and the nomenclature is not always. It's sometimes fluid. It's changed over time. In any event, let's get back to what we were talking about. the number one issue, I think, in Christianity, at least, about why the idea of special young earth creationism is so important is because the question of death. Was there death before the original sin? The fact of the matter is, the Hebrew Bible doesn't tell us that there was no death before original sin in a clear way, although it's other than human death. But animals, the Bible doesn't tell us that the animals were immortal before original sin, but the Midrash seems to indicate that that's the case. However, there are other Midrashim that disagree or say that's a different type of death that we're talking about. That there was even humans had death before original sin, and we're talking about a different type of human even. So I would say, although obviously there are many Christians who reject young earth creationism and still identify as Christians, I would say for the Christian it is more of a theological issue to question young earth creationism as opposed to the Jew. It's not as important, and indeed the whole issue of original sin carries a much greater theological issue for the Christian than it does for the Jew. It's not as dogmatic to the Jew, even though we certainly have a concept of original sin, and that original sin, although we don't believe in damnation from original sin, we believe in mortality from original sin. But even that is not necessarily a dogma, and the fact is, the idea of mortality from original sin could be rejected and still leave one totally orthodox in Judaism. And so therefore, that's why, and of course there are many different midrashim and many different Kabbalistic sources that point to possibly evolution, obviously a theistic form of evolution, not, totally run by God, and then there are sources obviously that are creationist and young Earth creationist. I would say the most famous Jewish young Earth creationist of our time would be Rav Victor Miller. Yeah. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. And Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chaim. The main thing is that we follow Torah and Yerushalayim. That's what's important, not these issues. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later.